that's very interesting. That's a very fake it till you make it kind of attitude. So it just says, I believe in you and you can do it are the basic principles guiding LuLaRoe. Hey guys, so I think a lot of you found me because of some of my LuLaRoe content, and if you weren't aware, I was a LuLaRoe consultant for officially on paper 2 years, but realistically about 1.5 years. So this was between 2015 and 2017. And I've been wanting to make some videos kind of just in general about like what the LuLaRoe experience was like at that time. And I've put it out a few times that I'm looking for people to ask questions because I just didn't even know where to begin. So I never really got much response other than like, yeah, I totally want to hear about that. So I just don't know where to start. So what I have today is some old LuLaRoe paraphernalia and things that I've been hanging on to. So I thought I would just kind of go through some of that stuff and talk about it and see what comes up. And then in the meantime, if you have questions or things that you want to know about specifically, like maybe about, you know, inventory, ordering, onboarding, communications from the company, what convention was like at that time, any of that sort of stuff, go ahead and leave me a comment or send me a message or whatever you want to do to get that to me, because otherwise it's really just like so open-ended, I don't even know where to start. But I would love to talk about it, and I know people are interested and curious about it, so you know, I'd love to share some of that experience. So for today, I thought I would start with this stack of stuff, which I think pretty much all of this was from my initial onboarding kit. So at the time that I joined LuLaRoe, I've mentioned this before, it was just kind of like at the bottom of the curve right before it really took off like nuts toward the end of 2015. So at the time I was joining, it was a time when brand new consultants would actually get a personal phone call from Deanne Stidham welcoming them to the company. I think I actually just missed that happening. I never got a phone call from Deanne. It was a time when pretty much all of the official communications from LuLaRoe to consultants were made through a Facebook group, because like at the time that they just started ramping up, everyone was just communicated through Facebook. I think they had like a group text string that I was not in. Again, I just missed some of that like early stuff, but they were still doing things in a very small company way, and that was actually one of my biggest frustrations with LuLaRoe, is like they just weren't ready for the number of people that they were about to start dealing with, and things were just done in like a very ramshackle way. I have to say, one improvement, if you want to say, that they've made in more recent years is that they do seem to be a little more official with a lot of their communications, as far as sending things out via email or like making a little bit more professional videos. Gosh, at the time I joined LuLaRoe, we did have weekly phone calls, like home office phone calls. They were so unprofessional, like nobody knows how to mute their phone. It was a mess. It was like such a mess. And I'm on teleconferences all the time for work, so I'm like very used to teleconference culture, and people just like didn't know how to do a teleconference. So that's where we were at the time that I joined. But anyway, a lot of this stuff in this package, I believe came as part of my onboarding package as a new consultant with LuLaRoe. So this would have been in July of 2015. So I thought I'll just kind of go through this stack of stuff to start with and see what we have. So the first couple of things, I actually had more of these, but these are unopened packages. This is a pamphlet about joining LuLaRoe, so, oh, actually this is open. Okay, so I'll show you what's in this pamphlet, and I would like set a couple of these out when I had shows, but no one ever looked at them. I actually only ever had 2 people on my team, and one of them kind of disappeared and the other one quit shortly after I did. But it's just a little brochure about what it's like. So actually, let's see how they advertise this. So it says it gives you flexibility, independence, it's satisfying, fashionable, and fun. Being a fashion consultant is simple. You book boutiques, you share the opportunity, and then you can also hold fundraisers. And I could do a whole other video about fundraisers, so let me know if you're interested in what really happens when you run a LuLaRoe fundraiser. Here's our story, so how LuLaRoe was founded. Actually, there's a different version of this timeline in one of these other books, so I'm gonna skip over this page for now. Here's some stories from some of the top consultants, and that's in one of the other books too, I think. And this just says proud supporters, and it's words from 2 of those top consultants' husbands. Keep that in mind because one of the other books has a different title on this page. And then it says how much money you make is up to you. Book pop-up boutiques and become a sponsor. So here, you know, they're emphasizing the recruitment structure of this, which again, I never really took part in, and it wasn't really a goal for me. I just kind of wanted to sell clothes. Here is what your starter kit includes. So it has, you get product, you get thank you cards, which is this other packet that I hadn't opened before. I'm not gonna open those, it's just blank cards. A calendar, I'll show you that. Pop-up boutique assets, which I think is like signage and stuff, and I have some of that here. Product information and branded items. Pens and tape measures. I never got any pens or tape measures as part of this kit, I don't think. And we believe in you. Actually, and this is a quote from this essay, If You Can Count to 4, which is something that they referenced all the time, and at any training session that I went to, they always had like a printout of it that they handed out, and then it here just says, you know, what are you waiting for, and you would fill in the information. I never did that on any of these, but you'd fill in your contact information for people if they were interested. So I think these are some of those assets that they were talking about in that first book about what you get as a new consultant. This is like some signage and things that you get as part of your kit. So here's a sign, you know, love to shop and want free clothes, ask me how. So that's to recruit hostesses. This one is a little troubling of a claim. Want to earn full-time income for part-time work? Ask me how. I think that it's become clear at this point that it's not part-time work if you want to make a full-time income out of this. That's why I quit. It was way too much effort for the amount of money I was making. Here is a size chart, and actually I never used any of these signage because I made a lot of my own, including different size charts, because some products, you know, the sizing ran differently than others, so you needed like all different size charts for everything. In fact, here there's some little footnotes. You know, go up 1 size in the Julia dress, go down 2 sizes in the Irma top. Sizes may vary depending on the fabric, and yes, that's totally true. Nothing was exact science with LuLaRoe clothes. Now here's a letter, and actually I have a couple copies of this letter because I think they handed these out at some training event as well. But it's, you're new, here's what we expect of you. So it says, you know, what you can expect of us, we'll welcome you, we'll put your needs first. Oh, this is real interesting. We should do a whole video about this. And then what you can expect of your sponsor, and it's kind of all the responsibilities that your sponsor has. And then on the back is what we expect of you. And it's like, you know, commit to your business, use the products, build a team, da da da. So if you're interested in this letter, let me know and we can do another video, like deep dive into this thing. This is something you might put out like at a clipboard at an event or during a party, just for people to like sign up with their contact information and answer would they like to host a party. I never used these because I also made my own version of this that had like a little more in the way of options for them as far as what they might be interested in. Okay, so this is interesting. This is actually a newsletter about their 2014 convention. And this is interesting because the 2015 convention would have been the one that was taking place around the time that I joined LuLaRoe, and that was one of the things that kind of encouraged me to join when I did, because it looked like such a fantastic event, and I feel like that was probably their last well-executed convention. Maybe it wasn't even, because I wasn't there and I don't know how it was. But by the time I went in 2016, it was like a mess. And I know it has been for the couple years since then as well. So this is sort of a recap from 2014. So they had a pool party at Deanne and Mark's house. They had keynote speakers. They had a little beach party with music. And they had breakout sessions, and I don't know if you're gonna see this very well, but you can see kind of how small this event was. They were just in like a small hotel meeting room, and that's really how a lot of the training things were until a couple years later. And then they made a warehouse visit, so this was at the time when everyone at convention gets to go to the warehouse, and they had a gala dinner. And then it says here, pre-register for our upcoming convention, so that would have been the 2015 one that I just missed, but was able to see parts of online. You can see what a small scale kind of event it was. They were clearly just in little hotel meeting rooms, and it wasn't the large, you know, shut down Huntington Beach, buy out a whole convention center sort of event that it became in the following years. And then the next thing in here is a guide to like the product styles and the fabrics that they come in. This is actually a really great idea, and unfortunately it became dated really quick because this is the version that I must have gotten with my initial onboarding kit, and you know, it has the products that were available at that time, but obviously then, you know, new products kept rolling out and different fabrics were used. But this is actually really great, and I would like to do more of a deep dive on this one as well if you guys are interested. So, you know, it lists the product, what kind of fabrics it comes in, some notes about how it's sewn, kind of as like selling points about them. And then the last column is trivia, hints, cautions, and washing. It lists the price for some of them. And just some little tidbits. Like for the Amelia, it says very versatile, fits an 11-year-old to an 80-year-old. So let me know if you want to look at this a little more closely at some point. So one of the other things they gave us, and I don't know if they make these available anymore, but as a new consultant, I received this 2015 planner as part of my onboarding kit, and then I know that they sold them in subsequent years. I never really used it as far as like the calendar pages. You know, obviously you're supposed to list your pop-ups here, and here there's special pages to list hostess name, event, date, notes. Here's another kind of tracking page with like a time-based schedule, and then there's also like an overview calendar page. So it's really like a specific to LuLaRoe planner. I never used it for any of that. The only thing I ever put in this planner book was in the very back notes pages is where I kept my running list of people who wanted black leggings. I don't want to really put this up because it has people's full names on it, but I had a list of people who wanted black leggings, and I also had started making notes of like my friends, what size they were in every style, so that like if something came in that I thought they would like. Oh, and I see a wish list too, so people are looking for specific colors of different things. I made note of what style and size they wanted. Yeah, sorry everybody, I never got anything anyone wanted. And the last thing that I wanted to share for this video, and the thing that I kind of find most interesting out of all this was what came as part of my new consultant kit. It's called Your Dream Book. And the back cover, again, has a quote from this Jim Jones, which is the If You Can Count to 4 guy. So I assume this is a quote from that. But it's just like a really interesting book, especially looking back at it now. I haven't really gone through it to see if there's like misinformation in it, but it's just interesting to see, you know, how things were promoted at that time. So you can see there's different tabs. These are like really nicely produced pieces of print material here, all of these things. But yes, they have tabs with different sections. So the first one is Welcome/Our Story. And it gives the whole story of, you know, Deanne and Mark Stidham, the founders of LuLaRoe, how they decided to create their company. Here's our story again. This is actually interesting because I feel like every time you hear the story of how Deanne created LuLaRoe, it changes a little bit. So this version of this story is that she was a single mother raising 7 children. She met the dress wholesalers and started a company called The Dress Party, where she took children's dresses and did pop-up boutiques with them. And then it says that ever since she was a young girl, she had dreamed of creating her own clothing line. So now all of a sudden she has a husband, and with his help she launched LuLaRoe. So then it says she turned to her family and people that she trusted and admired to help grow the company as well. She said she came to believe that if she wanted someone else to be successful, she would treat them as if they are, and they will become that successful person, which is dramatized in the movie My Fair Lady, which helped lead to the creation of LuLaRoe. That's very interesting. That's a very fake it till you make it kind of attitude. So it just says, I believe in you and you can do it are the basic principles guiding LuLaRoe today. And it exists to provide an opportunity for people to create freedom and achieve their dreams by selling comfortable, affordable, and stylish clothing. Here's what's behind the name, or who's behind the name, and of course it's her first 3 granddaughters, Lucy, Lola, and Monroe. Here's our why, and if you've been in any kind of direct sales, and I know other places do this too, a lot of times you try to like distill down to your why behind why you're doing something. So this is their why. Through fashion we create freedom, change lives, and celebrate that you can be you. LuLaRoe is a place where love, purpose, happiness, and growth allow you to dream your success stories and to create them. And it's just weird that like different words are capitalized or in all caps. Did you know LuLaRoe first started in Deanne and Mark's garage? I believe that. Here's that timeline that I said I was going to skip over in the other book because there was a bigger version here. So it starts back in 2012. So the timeline I feel like is something that changes also as we hear the LuLaRoe story repeated over and over. But here you can see they're saying it started in 2012 when the first skirt was made. Looks like LuLaRoe is officially started, actually falls at the beginning of 2013. They had their first convention. Here's 2014, they created their training bonus plan. So I believe that means when they first moved into like the multi-level format. Here they moved to a larger warehouse. They started holding a cruise. The first cruise had 21 people on it. They had another convention. Their first $1 million month was August of 2014. And here's the beginning of 2015. They had 1,000 consultants. And they had their first $2 million month, that was in March of 2015, and moved to a larger warehouse. Here's the other page I mentioned. In the other book it just said supporters, I think, and it had some notes from 2 of the top consultants' husbands. This one says proud supporters / husbands, but it's just kind of some words from them and how LuLaRoe has benefited their families. Then the next section is getting started, and it's sort of like, obviously I never did this, but it's like some pages for you to fill out. What's your why? You know, what's your story? What are your dreams? Here's the culture of LuLaRoe. Your schedule is in your hands is interesting. Again, that kind of harkens back to the part-time work for full-time pay kind of claims. Here's believe in yourself. You know you can do it. Here's your quick start checklist. So speaking with your sponsor, getting familiar with the website, opening business bank accounts, creating social media, planning a launch party, creating a list of potential customers, booking parties, all that sort of stuff. Here's a little something about holding your launch party. Here's your first pop-up boutique and setting up your pop-up boutique, and I feel like everyone had different levels of commitment to that. I was pretty low effort when I hosted boutiques. You know, I only have a small car, so it was not a lot of effort and setup. I really just brought the clothes and a couple racks that I could squish into things. Here's a lot of stuff about hostess prep, which is interesting because I came up with my own whole hostess prep informational website and letters that I would provide them. Here's booking additional pop-up boutiques, building your inventory, consignment. This is interesting. They actually stopped this program, I think, right before I joined. Around summer of 2015, by that time, they were doing something called consignment, where you would just basically put down like a deposit on your initial inventory, and then they would just give you credit. And they would take a percentage out of your earnings for the next however long until you paid back the rest of what you owed. So a lot of people, like, since then have gone into debt by joining LuLaRoe, by putting it on a credit card, or, you know, just spending money they didn't have. And they were actually offering this kind of program early on, and they stopped because I guess, you know, they got too big, first of all, probably to be able to afford to do that. And also, you know, they weren't doing credit checks or anything on people, so they might have been lending money to people who weren't really able to pay it back. Obviously, they had faith that people would be able to pay it back with their LuLaRoe earnings, but maybe, you know, not everyone took it as seriously. Here's again what we expect from you and what to expect from your partners. what to expect of your sponsor, what we expect from you. So then they had something called the 72-hour game plan, which is basically what you're supposed to do to kind of get started, and they also encouraged you to repeat it like throughout your business when you need to kind of like restart things. So first is commit to your business, then you come up with a list of names. Here's your list of 50 names of people you can reach out to, book 3 to 5 pop-up boutiques, promote your pop-up boutiques, and repeat steps 1 through 4 with yourself and your team. So that's kind of their steps for success. And then here's about the collection. So it's about the designs, how they're produced. Here they're talking about the thread and the pleats of the Amelia dress. Here's sizing, but then there's like all these little footnotes about things that don't really run according to the size chart. And pricing. And then there's a section on success practices. So think like a retailer, they would say that a lot. Family balance. Interesting. You are able to strike the balance, and your business will become an incredible blessing to you and your family. Here's a whole section about spouses and how your spouse needs to be your ally. That's interesting. And here's growing your team. Then there's a section on leadership principles. So live the culture, assume innocence. That's something that they will say a lot too. You know, if someone makes a mistake, like just assume that they didn't do it maliciously. You know, there was just an honest mistake. Seek first to understand. That's actually something from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Interesting connections there. Lift, challenge, and get out of the way. This is interesting that this is in this book from 2015 or earlier, because their later training tours and maybe convention, I know they've been calling lift. So they've been using that terminology for a while. Servant leadership, they talked about that before. Here's ground rules. This is the rules they operate under internally. And the same rules they hold their president's council accountable to. Be honest, be open, be candid, own your data. Be constructive, participate, be non-defensive, be confidential, and have fun. And then the last section is tools and resources. So there's a list of all their contact information, which I'm sure has totally changed. I know their address is different, their phone number is different, they have different email addresses for everything, and I'm sure those are all different now if they even work. They have webinars and calls, the different incentives that they have, and that's the end of the book. So this got a little longer than I originally intended, and I apologize for that. Hopefully you found it interesting and kept watching. So again, if there's anything that you want to see more in depth or see more of a discussion of, now that I've gone through that book especially, I feel like I have some thoughts and connections that I want to talk about. So please leave me a comment and let me know what else you would like to see. I have other stuff too. I have a Crazy Deanne fan from the 2016 convention. I have all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you want to see some more paraphernalia here from LuLaRoe, let me know, and I would love to share more of this with you. Or if you have specific questions about things, how things operated at that time, or what my thoughts are about things now, let me know, because again, it's just like so open-ended for me. I don't even know where to start, but I would love to talk about it. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, because I want to keep doing this. Give it a thumbs up if you like it so I know to keep doing it, and I will see you next time. Bye!